Alright, hey again, I'm Kill2 here with Lazarus Raven, and we're about to watch Ev0ke fight the Gorgon Empire, and we have some awesome setups. Gorgon Empire bringing a pair of rattlesnakes, backwards. Gorgon Empire bringing a Vindicator, a couple Feroxes, two Harpies, and a Merlin. Ev0ke bringing a pair of rattlesnakes, and a Hawk, and three Merlins. What do you think of this, Lazarus?
I think the Gorgon Empire really liked their Feroxes. I mean, they brought Ferox and Nagas last weekend. Now they changed the Naga for a Vindicator. Important note that the blaster ships had come at about 20k off the beacon, whereas the rattlesnakes are at 0. Um, rattlesnakes really beefy tanks. They more of a drone boat. I looked at the rattlesnakes themselves. They do not have any turrets or missile launchers on them, so you get a ton of utility highs there at their disposal.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the most straightforward brawls we've seen, I think. Unless there's a bunch of tracking disruptors or something, it's tons of damage coming from Ferox and Vindicator, and a lot of tank coming from the Rattlesnakes, but a significant amount of damage too. One of the new mods, we've talked a lot about ASBs, but one of the other new mods that just got added was the drone damage mods. It's like a mag stab, but for drones. So the Rattlesnake damage got beefed up quite a bit, and we're underway now. This is a shield Vindy, so that damage he's taken is pretty significant already.
Yeah, you see these both these rattlesnakes are cap transferring, so they're going to try to ASB cap transfer. It looks like it's pretty strong. They dropped bouncers off the start, and it looks like they swapped their drones now into ogres. There is no logistics for either side, so it's going to be interesting to see whose ASBs run out charges first. But with these huge shield tanks on these rattlesnakes, I think that they have a slight advantage in the situation.
Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be interesting for sure. I think it's really likely that both sides are going to lose ships. It's interesting to me that they went for the Vindy first instead of the Feroxes. Obviously, taking out more damage there if they're able to get it down, but dealing with a bigger tank to get that done. And yeah, the cap transfer is really interesting. Have you actually played with whether or not the ASBs can run? They use too much cap to run permanently off the cap transfer generated from that, don't they? Like,
well, it depends on how many cap transfers they have going back and forth. Because you're also seeing newts coming from the rattlesnakes on as Vindicators. You get target painters. I mean, you got all these high slots to play around with.
You've seen a big piloting decision now, like we talked about before, like they were talking about this morning. The Vindy now burning away from the fight while his cap or his ASB reloads, and at the same time lost one of the frigs for Gorgon.
Ev0ke Merlin.
Ev0ke
Merlin just dropped. Yep. So you see, they have all these heavy drones trying to chase this Vindicator, which Shield Vindicator actually is pretty quick. They're starting to pull back now. I think they're going to try to take out one of these Feroxes while this Vindy recharges its boosters. I think, like I said, these Rattlesnakes cap chaining back and forth. He has the opportunity now to recharge his booster, while all the ships from Gorgon Empire are burning away from the Rattlesnakes.
And I feel like something else we should say, the Frigs are kind of having their own brawl that's totally separate from the main battleship fight. They're in a big cluster, a good like 70k from the main fight, which is really interesting to me because if they were actually down at 0 where the Rattlesnakes and the Vindy are, the Vindy wouldn't have been able to burn off and reload his ASB. So it's obviously really important who wins that support war, and a lot of these Caldari Frigs are really tanky now with the medium ASB, so while they're duking it out, they're not necessarily able to kill anything, but you know, those ships shouldn't be able to get away when they have to reload.
What's important to note is they pulled his ogres back in, they dropped sentries, and they're starting to hit this Vindy again. And it looks like he did get that booster recharged, but he's just bleeding so much damage as the second Merlin for Ev0ke is about to go down.
Yeah, so I guess that Gorgon's winning the Frig War, which could end up being pretty important, and they're really winning the main fight too. I mean, oh geez, I get it wrong again. Yeah, Ev0ke's winning the main fight, sorry. I don't know why I imagined Gorgon. I think because they brought Nagas, right, last week. Naga, Ferox. I'm thinking that was the Caldari team, but Vindy's pulled back most of his shields, although he spent most of his time running this booster burning back towards the fight. And so by the time he gets back into close range, which it actually looks like he doesn't want to do, he's sort of hanging now at about 15k or so from the Rattlesnakes. Maybe so that he has an easy exit if he decides he needs to do that again.
Yeah, Ev0ke pulled most of their sentries back in. It looks like there's a few curators still in, and then a set of Ogre 2s. So they're still focusing, Ev0ke is still focusing on this Vindicator. He is most likely going to be firing null at the range. He's sitting about 20k off of the main fight, just so that he can stay out of most of the Ogre range, as you see. Actually, as I say that, the last Rattlesnake pulls back in his sentries and is going to drop heavy drones again. So, I mean...
And now... Ev0ke lost their last Merlin, but this Vindicator now in armor, and it looks like he might be in a reload cycle right now. And He's webbed. He's actually now tackled since, I don't know, that's actually interesting that they were able to get a web now. I guess that Hawk decided to burn in to make sure the Vindy couldn't escape this time to boost back, and you see all the Gorgon frigs chasing him. They just showed up to try to kill that Hawk so that the web gets on the Vindy.
It's definitely more of a suicide mission for that Hawk there. Get that Vindy pointed down so he can't get away. That way they can finally get that DPS off the field.
Yeah, definitely. And the Rattlesnake's really comfortable now. I don't know, I guess just from the Vindy being at range, they're not able to do enough DPS to force the Rattlesnakes to be under too much pressure. So they're back to, totally full HP, really looking really comfortable right now. So Ev0ke making Rattlesnakes look really strong against the Vindicator.
Yeah, every Rattlesnake, I think we've had 2 Rattlesnake setups so far in the tournament that didn't do so well. And what's important to note is it looks like these frigates might be going after these heavy drones, popping these heavy drones to get some of this DPS off this Vindicator as it sinks in the structure and is about to pop. And then it goes down. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to kill these Rattlesnakes now, not without that Vindicator DPS.
Yeah, no, definitely not. They, I guess, they really just need to hope they can finish off that Hawk. Giving themselves just a little bit more points, because it's going to be hard for them to win the match from this point. Although, I mean, an interesting thing is what Gorgon Empire has left. I guess they'll lose the Feroxes, but I was going to say the Frigs really can probably deal with the Rattlesnakes. It'd be very difficult for the Rattlesnakes by themselves to kill off these Frigs. But the Feroxes, on the other hand, are pretty easy targets. And there goes the Hawk. So Gorgon Empire definitely getting enough points to get through. We said 8 was probably going to be the line, and I was told that that's actually, it can only go down. So they've got at least 8 points, 6 points for the Merlins and another 4 for the Hawks. So that actually means both teams are definitely guaranteed to get through to next weekend.
Yep, so they're definitely, both teams definitely going through. I really like the Rattlesnakes. I think Ev0ke saw all the Vindicators today, and they thought that if they bring a setup with enough EHP that can take that blaster DPS, especially with these circle jerking cap, that they can keep those tanks running, and they have enough shield buffer to last. So I mean, it's definitely a well thought out setup from Ev0ke.
Yeah, I think it's really strong. Even against, like Gorgon Empire last weekend brought a battlecruiser setup. They brought a setup actually a lot like Goon setup from today, except Caldari. So it was 2 Feroxes, a Naga, and a Scimitar. And I think the Rattlesnakes probably would have done pretty good against that kind of setup too. They likely can tank most of the DPS long enough to kill something. I guess the Scimitar would be a bit of an obstacle for them compared to this all brawl setup, but I don't think it's a bad choice at all.
Yeah, like I said, the Vindicator's been flavor of the day. Different from the Sleipnirs that we've seen for the last weekend and yesterday. So I think they just really went for a safe setup, Ev0ke did. So just to make sure that they made it through to the group stages.
So this Ferox definitely going to drop before the time the match ends. I don't know about the second one, but the first one's about to go down. He's actually gotten himself pretty far away from the middle of the field, so the Rattlesnake's now using sentry drones to finish him off, which is something nice that the Rattlesnakes can do. I suppose that's actually a really good thing to have versus an ECM setup as well. So there might be some flexibility to this Rattlesnake setup, even though it kind of has to sit in one spot and focuses more on tanking than doing damage. I have a question for you. What do you think of the newts in the highs? I noticed, they're cap transferring, and then it seems like they went with smart bombs and newts for utility on the Rattlesnakes. Do you think the newts are strong in this tournament? I've been wondering because ASBs are not as vulnerable to them as tanks normally would be, but
well, the big thing to know about newts, the ASBs, once they run on charges, they can run off cap, but they use a lot of cap. So getting rid of that, the cap for it to secondary tank off of, and the cap for them to run their hardeners is definitely going to weaken and lower the EHP of the ship overall. So newts, I think, are probably the best utility item in this tournament so far. Because I mean, I think the one weakness to this Rattlesnake setup would be if they came up against a lot of ECM.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the ECM, it depends on the form the ECM took. If it's got big targets, if it's rooks, and something that's not too bad to kill, like sabers we saw, I don't hate the Rattlesnakes because the sentry drones will auto aggro and actually be able to apply damage to the rooks. If it's a lot of like Griffin pressure and other fast stuff, it might be difficult for them to get the damage going in the right direction. Another big bonus to the newts, which I ran into PvPing this week actually, is that when you're running an ASB on like a Ferox, you're giving up a cap booster you would usually have. So if they actually do cap you out with the newts, your guns turn off. So Neuting something like a Ferox that has an ASP tank can actually be really, really awesome for preventing DPS as well.
Yep, and we get 2 rattlesnakes left on the Ev0ke side. We're down to less than a minute left in the match. For Gorgon Empire, they have 1 Ferox, 2 Harpies, and a Merlin left on their side. So, I mean, both teams are through at this point. Gorgon Empire has secured 10 points with that Hulk kill. So, it's really just till the clock runs out now.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, both teams getting done what they need to get done. Everybody just needs to make sure they score points for the rest of the matches today, at least some. And there's really no drawback to losing something. So that's why a setup like Gorgon's makes a lot of sense. They make sure to bring enough damage that they can at least kill something. Although they definitely ran into an obstacle here. If the Frigs would have won the Frig fight, if that Frig fight that was happening away from the center of the arena would have gone in favor of Ev0ke, and Gorgon wouldn't have been able to kill those Merlins, this would have been a pretty nasty result. But anyway, that's the match. Congratulations both teams. We'll see them next weekend, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes.